Dave Clausen, and I would like to talk to you about how to make your music sound its best using Zoom. Yes, I would like to include the new version of Zoom that was released on September 1st, 2020 with the audio enhancements. It's version 5.2.2. I'm continuing to talk about how to make your music sound its best on Zoom. In part 1, I talked about using a computer connected to an Ethernet cable and using an audio interface that you also connect to the computer, where you can connect your microphones and musical instruments to the audio interface. Part 2, I'm going to talk about the Zoom settings for music, especially addressing the new version of Zoom 5.2.2, which was released on September 1st, 2020. Zoom added some great audio enhancements for musicians. So let's get started. We're going to look at two things. We're going to go to the website first, and then we're going to talk about the client. If you don't have an account, create one. If you have one, log in, and the first thing you want to do, if you have not already done that, is click on the drop-down arrow for resources and download the Zoom client. Some of these settings I have for work. You may not want them for a concert. I've got waiting room turned on, which means that nobody can join the Zoom session unless you let them in from the waiting room. So perhaps you want to wait until you finish a song before you let somebody in so that there's no disruptive noises in the background. A downside is if you're the performer and the Zoom host, it's easy to forget to let the audience members in for the waiting room. But we can have a co-host. If you have a trusted friend or family member, they could assist with that. But maybe you want to have that setting turned off and people just join whenever. All right, continuing in the security settings, I like to have my video off and the participants' video off when they join meetings. As soon as you join, you can turn the video on. Also, you want to select here that under the security settings and schedule a meeting, you want to select that they are able to listen to audio via telephone or computer audio. And here's one I kind of feel strongly about, but you might disagree, is I don't want the audience members to join the concert before the host. All right, some other scheduling meetings. This one I think is an important setting on your website. Mute all the participants as they enter. I have been part of several Zoom concerts and open mics where somebody joins and the performer's in the middle of a song and the new participant doesn't have their mic muted and you hear them talking, you hear all their background noise. And the way Zoom works, it chases the loudest sound. So if they are louder than you in your performance, then their sound takes over, and depending on your video settings, their video gets highlighted as well. Chat, of course, you probably want to turn that on so your audience members can send you messages. This is a setting for work. I have private chat turned off. You might want to let your audience members send private messages to each other, maybe not. And if you want to see all the great comments that your audience members are sending to you and you don't want to have to remember one other thing after the show, you want to auto-save the chat and turn that on. I have it turned off because of work, and I don't want to save every meeting that I do for work. But that's something you might consider. Again, we're still on the Zoom.us website settings. We haven't got to the client settings yet. All right, so we've got in-meeting basic settings. You see that highlighted over here. We do not want a sound notification when someone joins or leaves. That would disrupt the concert. I don't know if you want to turn file transfer on or not. I don't want to have that as a setting. Do you want to give feedback to Zoom? Well, you can turn that off. Now, there's 2 steps in allowing a co-host. Remember I said it's kind of tricky to let people in from the waiting room if you're the performer and the host. If you have a co-host, then that can help. But there's 2 places for that. One place here on Zoom.us, you have to turn that on. All right, and you don't want to, maybe you want to give a poll after the show is over what they thought, but you can turn that off. I want to see the meeting controls in the toolbar all the time. Here's still in meeting basic settings. Now, why would you want somebody to share their screen? I have it turned on as a host of a show at work. I share my computer screen. Musically, what I'm thinking is maybe you're going to release or drop a new music video, and you want to share that before the concert starts. So you want to be able to share that screen, which again, there's a couple of parts to that. Who can share? Well, maybe you're the only one showing a video, or maybe you're having a party where everybody's showing their video. So you decide if that's the host only or every participant. Annotations, I have that on for work. You probably don't want that. Whiteboard, I have that on for work. You probably don't want that. I don't want anybody remote controlling my computer, so I have that turned off. All right, so let's look at the in-meeting advanced settings, which you see here over on the tab on the left. All right, these are two important ones, so important I'm going to show it in the next picture as well. You want to allow the users to select stereo audio. That is the feature, one of the features of 5.22, and you want to allow users to select original sound. So those are two important settings. Now, I don't know if you have a paid account or not and what kind, but certain paid accounts allow you to live stream from Zoom to other sources, perhaps Facebook or YouTube. This I have set for work. I've been to some Zoom concerts where at the end of the song, the audience members unmute themselves so the performer can hear the applause, and if it's a small setting, the audience members can say some great things to you. So this is a setting for work. Maybe you don't want them to have to ask permission to unmute themselves to tell you how great you sounded. All right, so I'm going to repeat these two settings again. They're on the zoom.us website after you log in. On the left, it's the in-meeting advanced settings. You want to be able to turn on stereo and turn on original sound. Those are important for the new 5.2.2 version of Zoom. Now, you can change some settings from the app once you're in that. So let's start with video settings. Down here you see, and I obviously have my video off, but next to it there's a little up arrow and choose video settings, and you're saying where are you going with this because it's all about sound. Well, let's look at the video settings. Whatever webcam you're using, I did not have it connected here. You might want to go widescreen, enable HD. Maybe you need to mirror your video. It's not a bad idea to touch up your appearance or look, adjust for low light. And it's nice to display the participant names in their video. That's great. And again, I always turn my video and audio off when I'm joining a meeting and then turn it on after I join. You don't have to turn that on, obviously. And then I would say scroll down and we're going to click on the advanced setting, and this is the real reason why I'm looking at the video settings. Depending on your CPU power, you may only be seeing 25 audience members in the gallery view on your screen. But if you have enough CPU power here in the advanced settings, click this checkbox and then you can see 49 participants, which is great. And depending on how many audience members you have, you still might have to scroll through screens, but now you're seeing 49 on each screen instead of 25. That's one of the reasons I'm taking you through the video settings. All right, live streaming again. Now we're in the client again. So if on the website, zoom.us, you enabled live streaming, you would access that by clicking on the More button and then choosing which one you want to stream to, YouTube or Facebook. And then you would have to interact with some dialog boxes and identify where your stream is going to be. But one of the great things about Zoom is the interactivity, the audience members and the performer. But yes, you can still stream that on another platform, which would essentially be great if you were going to do like a songwriters in the round and you only wanted the songwriters to be part of the Zoom meeting. If you wanted the audience members to be all watching the stream version, that's another way to do that. All right, so here's some advice. If you're the only performer, or maybe there's more performers, in the top right corner there's 3 dots, which you cannot see right now, but in the little black box that contains me, yes, I hid all the other participants in this meeting. You get a drop-down menu, and you want to select Spotlight Video, What does that do? Well, Spotlight Video, if you're performing, you want the video to be on you. Doesn't mean that your audience members can't switch to gallery view, but as I said, if an audience member joins late, does not mute themselves, and they are allowed, Zoom goes for the louder sound and will show their screen instead of yours. So if you spotlight yourself, then that won't happen, and you still might hear the sound, but it won't highlight their screen. It'll still spotlight your screen. And of course, if there's more than one performer doing songwriters in the round, don't forget to spotlight the next performer as well. All right, which leads me to this choice. Again, I showed mute all participants on entry. That's a great setting to use on the zoom.us website, but you can also set that in the client. Again, I've been to several Zoom concerts where somebody joins late and is not muted, or after everybody applauds for your song and says great things about your performance, and you're going to start the next song. Here, if you click on the participants icon, a little window pops up, and that's where you see the choice to mute all. So right before you start your next song, it's important to mute everybody. Now, if somebody else is performing, you are muting them, and then after you mute everybody, they've got to unmute themselves. All right, so one of the great things is having a co-host, but again, you had to set that up on the zoom.us website first. And if you want to assign a co-host, well, we're still in the participants window. And yes, I had a Zoom session with myself. How fun was that? And so right next to whoever you want to be a co-host, there's a More button that you can click on, and a context menu shows up, and you can select Make Co-host, where that co-host would have the same rights as you, where they can mute everybody right before you sing another song. So if you have a trusted family member or friend, making a co-host is great. All right, so some other choices. In the participant window, there's some 3 dots. You can click on them. Again, you've got all these choices which you may or may not have set up on your zoom.us website. You can ask all to unmute. You can mute participants when they enter, allow them to unmute themselves, etc. You could read through those choices and decide what you would like. But the great thing again about Zoom is the interaction between the audience members and the performer. So it's nice to hear them applause. It's nice to see them applause. It's nice to hear them cheer you on. All right, so during the concert, they might be sending some encouraging and great messages. Maybe after the song, they don't want to verbally chime in, but maybe they want to type something to you. If on the zoom.us website you didn't set it to auto-save the chat, right here at the end of the show, click on the right 3 buttons in the chat window in the bottom right corner, and you have a choice to save the chat. It saves the chat as a text file, and after you click that, you will see a little highlight here asking if you would like Zoom to help you locate where that file is. That's always great. I always use that. All right, so let's continue talking about the client for 5.2.2. If you haven't done that yet, install that. And by now, there's probably a newer version. Here's what Zoom has to say about high fidelity audio mode. Right, the original audio allows for disabling the echo cancellation, allows to disable the post-processing that they were using, and raises the audio codec quality to 48 kilohertz, 96 kilobits per second for mono, and 192 kilobits per second for stereo. And they're saying that it gives professional audio transmission in music education and performance applications. But again, at the end of this quote that is coming straight from blog.zoom.us, they are emphasizing you need a professional audio interface, microphone, and headphones that are required. So again, if you haven't watched part 1 of the series where I talk about the hardware aspects and using an Ethernet cable, go back and watch part 1. All right, so Zoom settings from the app. So if you just start a new meeting, right here, there's a little gear icon in the top right corner. You can click on that. And then perhaps let's go straight to the audio settings since we did the video settings. Here you want your audio interface selected for input. So instead of microphone, here's my audio interface. Now for output, you have a choice for what you want to do. If you're wearing headphones connected to your audio interface, which is a good thing, then you want your audio interface selected as your output or your speaker as well. If you have powered speakers, you could send the sound to there. Alright, do not check the box to automatically adjust microphone volume. I don't like that. The best choice for suppressing background noise is auto. And again, you want to automatically join computer audio when you're joining a meeting, but again, I like to have my mic muted in case I'm joining that concert late and the performer's in the middle of a song. I don't want to make any noise that disrupts them. And then this setting you may or may not want, but if somebody wants to speak, instead of unmuting, you can just hold down the space bar temporarily. Now, another thing, using the input level. If your audio interface that I talked about in part 1 did not have signal strength meters, you could do a sound check here and look at the input level. I would suggest, because I've run sound for live concerts, that you sing your loudest song, the song you're going to play your instrument the loudest, you're going to belt out your vocals the loudest, and make sure that that signal is not peaking out all the way at the end. And then the other thing I like to do is to have someone or myself sing the softest song I'm going to sing and see what the levels are for that. So again, if your audio interface doesn't have that, you can check that out. Alright, we're going to go to advanced, but hang on for a moment, because there is a programming error, according to my opinion, in the Mac version of 5.2.2. So let's go back to this input level where we're using a sound check. They've got everything color-coded backwards. So normally a good signal is going to be green from left to right, and when we get to about here, it'll start turning yellow. So you're thinking, well, there's nothing wrong with that picture. Nope, there's not. But if you look at this, if you're a little bit louder, it's yellow all the way to the left. Technically, your level meter should not hit level until you're, right around there, 3/4 or further. And then they've got the colors wrong. If you're pegging all the way over to the right, that should be red. But they've got red as the quietest setting. So they have the exact opposite color coding in the Mac client in version 5.2.2. So if you're doing a sound check with somebody and they say, well, make sure it doesn't go into the red, and you're looking at this and you're going, oh, that's hardly any signal at all. In my opinion, there's a programming error in the Mac version of 5.2.2. All right, let's get back to screen 2. We had clicked on the advanced settings. Echo cancellation audio is the best choice. We do want to show enable original sound. I had previously posted that we should check this, but I've changed my mind. We do not want to disable echo cancellation. We do want to select high fidelity music mode, and we do want to use stereo audio. What if you don't see use stereo audio? You need to go back to the Zoom.us website and click that option that I talked about first before I came to the client. Otherwise, you won't see this as an option in the clients. Alright, so when you're about to do that show, up here in the top left corner, sometimes it might be a little confusing. You want it to say turn off original sound. That means it's on and you're getting the best audio quality. If you see it say turn on, you need to click on that to turn it on and make sure it says turn off, because then original sound is taking advantage of all the enhancements Zoom has put in through 5.2.2. Alright, if you want to change your audio settings during the show for whatever reason, you can click on this up arrow. Maybe you've got other devices connected. Here, obviously, I have original sound turned off because it says to turn it on. But when I clicked on my other options for, if I didn't want to use my audio interface, then that turned it off. Now, we talked about maybe doing a new video drop. In that case, you want to share your screen, and we talked about that setting on the website. So once you click on this button, Share Screen, which now is colored green, it will ask you what screen you want to share, but don't choose one right away. What you need to do is look in the bottom left corner and share computer sound. If you don't click that box, no one else will hear the sound but you. Now this one, I could go either way on it. Optimize the screen share for the video clip so that it's optimized on the devices your audience is using. But if you're going to share your brand new music video, you can share it over Zoom. Just make sure to click Share Computer Sound. And by the way, we didn't disable echo cancellation. This is going to get echo for sure if you disabled that when you share your computer sound. All right, so some shout outs. Brad Kohlrick has been very kind to me for over the years, and he has let me join his Zoom concerts. So that's how I learned about the interaction of the audience. I explored some of the Zoom settings some more. So big shout out to Brad Kohlrick for that. And of course, I am Dave Clausen of E Major 9 Productions. You can find me at daveclausen.com. Thank you for tuning in.